Hey y'all. So in this lesson, we are using that third piece of our research toolbox. We are still answering our central research question, how do GMOs influence our access to healthy food? But this time we are figuring out how to choose and use credible internet sources. And keep in mind from our vocabulary earlier, credibility is being believable. So you can determine whether an internet source is reliable by identifying the publisher, author, bias, accuracy, and timeliness of the source. Now, guys, the internet is wide open and anyone can publish anything on the World Wide Web. As a result, we cannot assume that every online source is credible. You will conduct research and you will have to determine the credibility of each source. You'll use the criteria in your toolbox as a guide. So for publisher, it says a reliable internet source is usually published by the government.gov, educational institutions.edu, or nonprofit organizations.org. Now, sometimes internet sources published by commercial organizations.com are reliable, but not always. Now, a credible internet source should be visibly appealing, clean, and uncluttered with links that work. You should not have many errors in spelling or grammar. As for the author, you can tell whether an internet source is accurate by looking at who wrote it and checking their credentials. Now, there is bias. Now, an internet source that presents sides of an argument or does not have bias and that presents facts. Please note that a source may be credible in bias, in which case it's important to research to find other perspectives to ensure deep and accurate understanding. Accuracy, an internet source that contains accurate facts. If the information is contradictory to other sources, it could be factually incorrect. And don't forget, you also want timeliness. An internet source that is reliable is timely and it doesn't have out of date information. So let's look at our to GMO or not to GMO text. If we look at the credibility or the criteria for determining credibility, is this source credible? So if we're looking at it, it's uncluttered, it has both sides, which helps greatly to reduce bias. It looks uncluttered. When we scroll down, okay, Odyssey Magazine, so that's a publication, 2014 is pretty relevant. Has a publishing company, licensure information. And if we were to look up the authors, guys, one of these authors published 90 children's books. That is so many. So obviously that is a credible author. So since we've determined that this is a credible source, I know, because you're getting it in school, you want to assume it's a credible source, but it's always good to dig a little bit deeper just to double check. Now you're going to add notes. So now we're going to go to our access to healthy food research GMOs note catcher. And this final question that we haven't been answering that we're going to right now is this source credible? Why or why not? So some of the things that stood out was, of course, yes, this source is credible. The publisher is a respected children's magazine published in 2014. So it is not out of date. It presents both sides, and one of the authors published 90 children's books. That is so many, y'all. Oh, it's supposed to say publisher. So, just like we did for source, if we are talking about the exact same text, you want to make sure that you fill out all of your information. And so that's going to be as simple as just a quick copy and paste. And now you want to be careful because you don't want to transfer information to the wrong section, but you do want to make sure that your information goes so everything is the same. So we have our answer, our evidence, our source, and then finally we have our credibility. We're just going to finish. Remember, this should be your evidence from a few lessons ago. And so as you do your research, it is super, super important that as you work, you determine the credibility for each source before using it. So before you even write down the answer and evidence section and fill out your source and analyze the credibility, you want to make sure that you have credible sources. So guys, the answer to is it credible should be yes. It's your why or why not that is going to change. Now we don't want why not only because we want to get as much relevant information as possible. Now, if we mess up and we pulled some information and we see, oh, this is a why not, that's fine. Don't erase it. Tell us why not, but try your best to get credible sources. If you have any other questions, make sure that you ask your teacher for more clarification as needed.